I feel like I'm so far ahead of where the market is, but how do I get my team to see what I see? How do I keep people running towards something they can't fully picture yet?
Oh my, there are some key tactics that I use in the beginning of any transformation when I'm bringing forward a new idea with a lot of innovations. There's not proof yet, and a lot of the evidence might be pointing to the contrary. So, first, I get convicted, and it sounds like you've already got to this point, and that matters a lot because you're going to have to do some pretty heavy lifting over time to get that reality to happen. But first, you have to believe it yourself. I try to take some time to bring things together and clarify not only the what, but the why when I start down a mission. I get convicted based on a series of signals that most people don't see. I then take the time to articulate my point of view. And I usually do this written because by writing it, it helps me clarify my own thinking. I mean, like literally writing it down for yourself. Um, Bringing in the examples and the point of view of what it is that you're seeing and what you think the future looks like and what you need to do to capture that future. And that is nowhere near sufficient. So you will go around evangelizing that, and you may not be burned at the stake for it, but you will be felt or seen as a little bit heretical in having a contrarian point of view.
A really important part of what you just said was show your work, write it down, etc. But that can be really difficult. If it's really hard for you to do that, find someone who can pull it out of you.
Good, yeah.
It's really hard for me to do that. And I found my chief of staff, Connie Lee, was incredible at being able to pull this information out of me. There are certain people that can ask you the questions and really get you to articulate it.
Love that. Love that. If you get to that point, a lot of times people believe that everyone else should be able to follow along from that. And what I have come to learn is that is not true. In fact, most people will be even more distrusting of it because it works against what they have already concluded or experienced or are sure of. If it's innovative, creative, and new, well, by definition, it is counter to the current examples and stories that are out there. So, in addition to spending a lot of time communicating, I also spend a lot of time listening to try to tease out from people what about it doesn't make sense to them or just feels wrong. And this is hard because you feel so sure of the idea and you want to be in sales mode. But to do a good job in sales mode, you need to have some clues about where people are coming from so that you can position your messaging into a part of their thinking that is already ripe for a new idea. That's a place where people get really fatigued and it becomes difficult because it takes a lot of repetition, it takes a lot of resilience, and it takes a lot of curiosity to pull out where they're struggling. I take that as a big responsibility.
Is like, why does this suck? Why is this
Yes.
awful? And really getting vulnerable with it too. That's super hard to do. And it takes a big emotional toll too. So being able to create some armor around yourself, putting yourself in a completely objective space of this is all to serve this greater purpose rather than feeling personally critiqued by it.
And then the next thing I do is I look for collaborative evidence. I'm always scanning for other proof points outside of my own writing or my own. And sometimes that comes from conversations with people and I lean on their language to talk about it. And sometimes it comes from news or The Economist or some other place that's completely random. I will bring that back and then draw the connection between my big idea and that signal. I'm always trying to help people make sense of that idea. And I have to be willing to let go the authorship a little bit and care about the idea landing. And so instead of always pointing back to my own evidence, I look for other people's evidence and then I support that. And ultimately, it takes lots of these different signals. And I see it as my job to shorten that window by being very intentional, very purposeful, very consistent. The bigger the idea, the longer it takes. And we're talking years, not weeks, not months. And we're talking repetition of a level that you really start to think that you sound like an idiot because you're saying it too much. The way you know you get through, and this has always been my signal across anything, is when other people are saying that idea of their own volition in their own context, that's when you know you got through.
They're like, hey, Meg, I've heard this great thing that I need to tell you about.
That's right. So I like to tell myself that my ideas are always best when other people have them. And early on, I took that as a little bit of a woe is me. But over time, I realize there's true magic in that because I care about the idea and I really don't care about the credit. So that's the hard truth. If you really are early and you really are coming up with something new, you probably have to be able to yield the full credit for it in service of making it happen.